Hey guys, Up here. While I'm in the process of researching for my next essay, I thought it'd be a fun idea to try something new, so I'm going to give you guys my opinion on 5 albums I think every Vocaloid fan should listen to. So if you spend any significant amount of time with Vocaloid, you know it's one of those scenes in music where albums are not the main focus, but instead it's more about the singles that are put out by that artist instead. However, I do think there are some amazing albums that have come out over the past 12 years that every fan should listen to. If you're someone new to Vocaloid, I consider these 5 albums to be a good starting point, not only because it will give you an idea of what the most iconic songs are, but it also gives you a good idea of the amount of variety there is in the community as well. So with that being said, let's get the show on the road.
Let me get some of them hot Cheetos you got.
Mitchie M isn't really talked about these days, but back in 2013, he was consistently in the spotlight and made pop music so good that I would even put it head to head with greats like Casey Livetune or Leo. And at the peak of his popularity, he released this album, The Greatest Idol, which might actually be one of the most iconic album covers in Vocaloid history. I mean, they even released a figure model after this design. What makes Mitchie M and this album so unique though, is the tuning and the level of professionalism in the production. Mitchie M is by far one of the best engineers in Vocaloid, and his tuning was definitely one of the main reasons why he rose in fame so quickly. Using the tagline "Miku sings like a human," Mitchie M blew most people away with his music, and as he claimed all those years ago, Miku legitimately does sound like a real person on these tracks, and some of these details are just astounding. Humming that I could legitimately take for a real person, artificial breathing between the delivery of verses. I want to say it's almost downright creepy how much care Mitchie M has put into the small details like that, but his music is so much better for it. This might actually surprise some of you, but after listening to this album for 5 years, I found that the tracks that stuck with me the most are actually the album's exclusives, like Bye Bye Blue Memory and I Zoo. I think the execution of some of them are absolutely breathtaking, and you could tell on these tracks that Mitchie M was definitely using them more to experiment than his actual singles, but I think that resulted in some truly amazing songs. I mean, just listen to the production after the humming here. If you're just looking for a high quality pop album, give this one a shot. Just a warning if you decide to buy a physical copy though. It is massive, like legitimately the size of a vinyl record.
Let me get some of them hot Cheetos you got.
So given the recent success of Bring It On and Giga being in everyone's mind again, I think this is a good time to bring up this masterpiece. So No Title is the debut LP by the pop group Leboru, consisting of Giga P, Leboru, and Okiku. Now, Giga P is not a producer known for his tuning or writing. In fact, the majority of the time his lyrics are actually written by Leboru. But he is amazing at production, and in my opinion, No Title contains some of the best produced songs of his career. Drop Pop Candy and Hibikase are probably 2 of the most iconic songs of the mid-2010s. This LP was actually released in 2 forms, a Vocaloid edition called No Title Plus, and a Leboru version called No Title Minus. I personally think the Leboru version is better. Her performance on tracks like No Title are honestly enough to give me goosebumps, and honestly she just brings her all during this project. But don't get me wrong, I've listened to both versions, and if you're kind of hesitant on listening to anything besides Vocaloid, I still think the Vocaloid version is a good substitute. Giga's production is so good on this that honestly, it can't stop it from shining.
Let me get some of them hot Cheetos you got.
Possibly the most experimental and chaotic album I've ever listened to. Official Orange is an album you never really forget after listening to it. Released by Hachi in 2010, or Kenshi Yonezu as he's better known these days, this album not only contains some of Hachi's most iconic songs, such as Makuro Shinka and Panda Hero, but also contains some great album exclusives as well, such as the bone-chilling Wardroom 305 and the bizarre God and the Candy Apples as well, which is legitimately a song, and I'm not making this up, about God coming to comfort a crying girl with a tree growing from his back. Set to, and wait for it, set to an instrumental that sounds like something from a demented circus. This album just kinda oozes that weird Hachi charm that only he can make. And if you were ever wondering what Yonezu sounds like when he was 18, well, here's your chance with Urban Playground as well. If you're feeling brave, give this one a listen. Just don't blame me when you can't fall asleep at night.
Let me get some of them hot Cheetos you got.
What can I honestly say about Supercell that really hasn't already been said? If for some reason you haven't heard of this album before, this is a self-titled debut album of the J-pop group Supercell. If you're looking for something to absolutely blow you away in terms of sound, well, maybe don't get your hopes up too high. Supercell is a lot tamer than most Vocaloid albums that come out today, but you must realize that this was a very progressive album in Vocaloid, meaning the ideas represented here are used so much today that this might sound a bit bland to new ears. It's like how in the same sense you would listen to Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys to appreciate what it did for modern pop. But like Pet Sounds, I still think Supercell holds up extremely well today, and it's still the pinnacle of pop and Vocaloid. It contains 12 songs all written by Dio, arguably the most important producer in Vocaloid history, and a good portion of the tracks featured on here changed Vocaloid forever. Black Rock Shooter, Love is War, Melt, and of course World is Mine. Melt being one of the most important songs in Vocaloid history in my opinion. Honestly, if you have to listen to just one album off this list, make it this one, seriously.
Let me get some of those hot Cheetos you got.
If you've seen my first video, this really shouldn't come as a surprise, as Unhappy Refrain is not only my favorite Vocaloid album of all time, I legitimately think it's one of the best albums to come out this decade period. Released in 2011 as the lead album in the newly formed label Bloom, a lot of people would consider this album right up there with Supercell as being considered the greatest Vocaloid album to ever come out, and for good reason. Unhappy Refrain was a revolutionary album that pushed vocal rock in directions not thought possible at the time. And that's mostly due to the fact that this album contains some of the most important and acclaimed songs in Vocaloid history. Rolling Girl, Unhappy Refrain, World's End Dancehall, not to mention the remastering of the majority of Wowaka's discography as well. The end result is one of the most hard-hitting and polished Vocaloid albums in history. If you're someone who heard about Wowaka because of his recent passing and you're not sure where to start, this is definitely an album you should give a shot. And that's about it for this video, guys. I got this list of just 5, but honestly there's a lot more great Vocaloid albums out there, so depending on how much you guys like this one, maybe I'll make another one of these in the future. That being said, if there's any Vocaloid albums that I didn't mention on this list that you love, feel free to leave them down in the comments. I'll definitely listen to it if I haven't before. I'll also put links in the description as well where you can buy all 5 of these albums too. If you want to learn more about Unhappy Refrain and why I love it so much, on the left here you can check out my video on Wowaka. And if you want to learn more about why I love Official Orange so much, you can click on my video here on the right about Hachi. Thanks guys, bye.